with that all being said,
Hey,
there you
love
go.
that sound. Love that sound. It's the sound of Twin this week in the news. People who are prominent in the news recently and what we can learn from them. This week's Twin is about a gentleman, and I say that because you wouldn't know that by the name. This gentleman's name is Wombi Rose. Yes, you heard me correctly. Wombi, and that is not a nickname. It is his real name.
Well, Frank, who is Wombi Rose?
I am so glad you asked there, Mr. Karnak. I've created 7, I call them tidbits, little sections of Wombi's life that will tell us a story about how we got to where he was to where he is today. The first tidbit deals around when Wombi went to college. Wombi went to school at the Webb Institute, which I had never heard of before. It's based in New York, and they're a naval architectural school. Okay, and it was while he was there that Wombi Rose and a gentleman named John Wise became the best of friends while training to become naval architects. And I mentioned John because he's part of the story. Well, after graduation, Wombi and John went their separate ways. John moved to New Orleans to build boats, ships, watercraft, obviously. He was doing what he was trained to do. Wombi did something different. Wombi says, I know a lot of stuff. I'm going to take a job as a consultant, which he did for a number of different companies. The longest stint was with a company called McKinsey Company. He was working using his training, but he knew that he wanted to be an entrepreneur and do something special. The problem was he had no idea what that something special was. So John building boats in New Orleans, Wombi traveling all over the world doing consulting, and they separated their ways. A few years later, Wombi goes to Harvard Business School, attends Harvard Business School. And who was he there? Who's there with him at the same time? John Wise. They both were at the same class in Harvard Business School. Well, while they were at Harvard Business School, John and Wombi and the class took a trip to Vietnam for some social thing they were doing. And one evening, Wombi and John were walking through the streets of Ho Chi Minh City when they happened to run into these incredible handcrafted 3D pop-up paper cards. Let me repeat that again because that was pretty long. They happened to run into a street vendor who was selling these incredible handcrafted 3D pop-up paper cards, and they both fell in love with them at first sight. Well, Wombi and John were not only engineers, they were also naval architects, as I said, and both of them immediately recognized the possibilities. And Wombi remembers saying, we realized that we could engineer anything into a pop-up card. So having seen a few of these, and with our training, it was just, wow, what else can we make using these paper cards as a basis? Well, Wombi and John were blown away by these cards, but okay, maybe we're weirdos, and maybe they were. But what about other people who were not engineers? How would they react to these pop-up cards? So Wombi and John returned to Boston with some of these cards and put them in the hands of family, friends, and strangers, and sat back and watched their reaction.
More than just a greeting card, Love Pop cards are sure to capture you from the moment you open it. The intricate design emerges from a flat canvas, creating a stunning 3D scene. Greeting cards hold special meaning for many of us, but the traditional card sometimes falls flat. Love Pop's art cards are inspired by the founder's design sensibility and their admiration for paper crafts.
John and I fell in love with this beautiful style of pop-up card on a school trip to Vietnam. We're both ship designers by trade, and now we're using what we learned as engineers and shipbuilders to create these magical paper sculptures. Designing a ship, you take a complex 3D shape and you break it down into a set of 2D lines. That's exactly what we're doing here, just on a much smaller scale. We designed the cards with a lot of help from a small team of illustrators. Then each piece is laser cut and then hand assembled by craftsmen and women we met this past winter in Vietnam. The sculpture is then placed into the card by thread so that it pops when it's opened up.
With the goal of building and strengthening relationships, Love Pop's whimsical designs are perfect for all occasions, birthdays, weddings, and you do not have to worry about them getting tossed aside once opened. With close attention to detail in both the precise cuts of paper and the threading of the 3D art, the result is simply spectacular. In fact, they would make excellent decor additions to your mantle or coffee table. The enticing sculptural beauty of one of these works of art begs to be displayed, not only to be admired for its aesthetic, but to remember the thoughtfulness of the one who gave it to you.
Wombi and John became obsessed with the reaction. When they put them in the hands of family, friends, and strangers, when someone opened up the card and saw the paper 3D sculpture for the first time, real for the first time, it was a wow, just like John and Wombi had experienced in the streets of Ho Chi Minh City. Their instant popularity convinced Wombi and John they were onto something and that they should start a business. But with their own products, because Wombi says, I did not want to sell these cards. I wanted to create and sell my own personal version of what I could make with these cards. And and I love this statement that Wombi said, and I quote, "You cannot build a brand on other people's designs." In fact, we talked about that this morning. You cannot build a brand on other people's designs. So a startup company called Love Pop was born to take on the greeting card industry. Well, wait, did you say the greeting card industry?
Yeah, it's big.
Yes, I did. Well, let me tell you about the greeting card industry. In America alone, the greeting card industry is a $7 to $8 billion business. So they knew the demand was there. But in this market, two companies, Hallmark Cards and a company called American Greetings, are as large as Coca-Cola and Pepsi are to the soft drink industry. They own the market. Competition isn't just fierce. Hallmark Cards and American Greetings, they define the market. So as Boston Magazine reported, even knowing this, and as smart as they are, Wombi and John started a small startup in the city of Boston going all in on greeting cards. Are they nuts? Maybe so. Well, like so many successful, and I'm going to use the word cocky, entrepreneurs before them, Wombi and John were not looking to dominate this market. They wanted to completely shake it up and turn it on its head. And looking at the numbers, this didn't make any sense as a place you want to tackle it, because for the last few years before they started, as they started Love Pop, the greeting card revenues had declined every year in spite of digitalization from Hallmark and American Greetings, duking it out for domination in the paper and electronic greeting cards market. With all their reach and money, the Boston Business Magazine said, with all their reach and money, if Hallmark Cards and American Greetings can't innovate and stay ahead of the digital trend, who the hell can? You guys have to be nuts to put all of your startup dreams there. Well, John and Wombi were engineers, as I said, and architects. So they did their careful analysis, as all engineers do, and I wish I had that talent. And after their analysis, they believed that the greeting card industry at that time was broken. And Wombi and John were going to fix it. Talk about being cocky, right? Decades ago, this is their analysis. Decades ago, sending and receiving paper greeting cards was meaningful. Now, although Americans send on average 25 to 30 cards per year, a lot of that's going to be Christmas, it has completely lost just about all of its elements of surprise and delight. E-cards are obviously more convenient. they suck the joy out of greeting cards. They're not unexpected. Oh yeah, here it is, And you can tell how little effort the sender did in sending it to you. Tick, 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 and they're done, right? Often, these e-cards are simply lost in the clutter of our inboxes. Oh yeah, I could open that up someday. On paper or even email, today's greeting cards are mass-produced, impersonal, and downright cheesy. Well, originally trained as naval architects and marine engineers at Webb Institute, Wombi and John were inspired by the incredible artistic and intricate handmade cards they saw on their trip to Vietnam. A born entrepreneur, this is Wombi, he immediately went to work using his skill set to bring the joyous experience of receiving greeting cards again, like it was back decades ago, to the United States. He said, I fell in love with this ancient art that the street vendor had in Vietnam, and I'm an engineer by training, so the design aspect, me going in and creating something special, just got him all excited. He says this new company, which they called Love Pop, is a customer-driven brand. They sell direct to consumer, and they spend a lot of time talking to their customers and watching their reactions when people open up their Love Pop cards. Showed how special it was. Well, they're not just making a different type of card, though. They are offering a new kind of experience. Sound like John Taffer? Sounds like it to me. In his engineering style of analysis of the greeting card industry, and you can think about it, this is brilliant. Wombi identified the three elements that make greeting cards truly special. Greeting cards are personal, they're tangible if they're paper cards, and they're unexpected. Oh, I got a card. But looking at digital cards, they're not personal because they're sent with a click of the mouse. You can't hold them in your hand, and they're not unexpected. Traditional paper cards, yeah, they're tangible, but they lack the element of surprise and personalization. That one saying, the greeting card industry had become stale. The greeting card industry is ripe for disruption, Wombi and John say. Enter Love Pop cards.
Earlier this season, Wombi Rose and John Wise made a deal with Kevin O'Leary for their pop-up greeting card company, Love Pop.
I have a lot of businesses that are involved around marriage and engagement, and I have so many customers that would buy this.
Let's see what they're up to now.
When we pitched on Shark Tank, we had $300,000 in sales after a year and a half in business.
In the last 2 months, we've done $1 million in sales. There are a lot of directions we can go with Love Pop, and we really look to Kevin to help us pick where we should focus our energy.
Gentlemen.
Hey, Kevin!
From the moment I saw them, I knew Love Pop would be a success, and I was right. These guys are killing it. We've hit $1 million right out of the gate. The plan is to hit 5 to 8 million this year. In order for that to happen, number one, selling online direct to our customers. Number two, selling big box retailers, and now being part of the Something Wonderful platform, getting into the wedding business. I invested in Love Pop because they fit on my Something Wonderful platform, the platform that supports the wedding industry and all the special moments in people's lives. These Love Pop cards are perfect for that.
So Kevin, this is how we used your investment?
Now that is really cool.
Shark Tank put us on a national stage, and now it's up to us to do something really special with it.
I love it when money just grows on trees.
Our mission has always been to encourage people to tell their loved ones that they really do care.
Thanks to the millions of Shark Tank viewers and Kevin's strategic advice, we're able to spread that message to everyone.
Love Pop, baby. Oh, yeah.
Wombi and John launched Love Pop cards out of Harvard Innovation Lab. I mentioned they were Harvard Business School in 2014. And I got this quote from the Love Pop website. And it puts everything in one sentence. When that one message-fits-all card from the drugstore isn't right and a text isn't enough, do something unexpected. Send a Love Pop card. But a Love Pop is more than a card. This intricate 3D paper sculpture designed by engineers on cutting-edge software and is handcrafted in the Asian art form of kirigami, slice form kirigami, something they developed. They developed a technology called slice gomito to create elaborate paper sculptures they use in their 3D cards. And here's the formula. 2 shipbuilding degrees plus a little inspiration plus creativity plus a prototype machine called Rhino plus a laser printer equals Love Pop cards. How are you going to compete with that? These 2, I call them geniuses, brilliant young men, applied their shipbuilding skills. And as Wombi said in an interview, he says, when you design an architectural ship, it's a 3D monstrosity. Everything's got to be brought down to a 2D rendering of it. Okay. They took that skill to a miniature and created the Love Pop production process, as engineers do. Engineers create processes. And here's a process they developed, which they've been able to duplicate over and over again. Number 1, you design the 3D sculpture. Okay? They're good at that. Number 2, you enter the design into this hardware called Rhino, so-called Rhino. You create a prototype. Number 3. Number 4, you feed that prototype into a laser machine. That laser cuts the 3D card sculptures. And then you take all these pieces and you have them hand sewn and woven together to create a card. For Wombi, the move from naval architect to greeting card entrepreneur has the feel of his destiny. His father was an entrepreneur who lived by this attitude. Wombi, you have to make something happen. Don't wait for it. You make it happen. And Wombi says that philosophy was ingrained in him at an early age. So even though Wombi is trained as a naval engineer and naval architect, Wombi is excited to devote his engineering skills to Love Pop's custom designed and engineered 3D cards. And they were able to do, and in a year, they were able to generate $300,000 worth of sales. Not bad. $300,000, $300,000, selling them in little kiosks and going to trades, that kind of thing. Where people are, they would open up the card and so forth. Now here's Wombi's brilliance again. He said it was now time to springboard Love Pop to the next level and beyond. It was time for Wombi and John to take on a partner. I gotta close something, okay? Where do you go to find such a partner? This is gonna sound familiar to you. You go and apply to Shark Tank. After 1 year in the business, and after having achieved $300,000 in sales, Love Pop on December 11, 2015, appeared on Shark Tank. Wombi wrote a little excerpt of how his appearance went on Shark Tank in an article that I read. He says 3 things shocked him about Shark Tank. Number 1, it's exactly like it looks on TV. Wombi says, walking down that hallway, and we all know what that scene looks like, before the doors open and stepping into the tank was easily the most nervous he's ever been. He says that when you do walk into the tank, you really do come face to face with the shark tanks, the actual sharks for the first time, just like on TV. Number 2, and I didn't know this, up until the time you walk into that tank, the sharks have never heard about you. This was his biggest surprise.
Start over on number 2. Your audio blanked out.
Okay, number 2, and this was his biggest surprise. Up until the time you walk into that tank area, after doors open, the sharks have never heard of you. He figured the sharks would have received a file about their businesses and about their history and everything else. He says, no. When you walk in, the sharks meet you for the very first time, know about you for the very first time. They know nothing about your product, your idea, or your business plan until you tell them. They actually do make a decision based on due diligence after the show, based entirely on what you say on that stage. And number 3, the sharks are unpredictable. He says the sharks who understand your business right away are the ones who potentially might invest in you. And they were convinced, because they were a consumer product, that Lori Grenier would be the most interested because of her QVC stuff, and she was a consumer background. She was one of the first ones to go out. She went out right after Barbara. Then Cuban went out. The interest came down to two completely unexpected sharks, Robert Herjavec and Kevin O'Leary. Let me tell you what happened since that Shark Tank show. Kevin O'Leary invested $300,000 for 15% equity in Love Pop. That's what they got. And Kevin wanted to do one of those royalty deals, and Wombi said, "No, that ain't going to happen." So they negotiated. The next year in revenues, remember they did $300,000 until they went to Shark Tank? The next year, which was 2016, their revenues went from $300,000 to $7 million.
Whoa.
Talk
About growth.
That's a 23%, 24% growth. No, 240%, no, whatever it is. It was huge. Oh man, no, it's bigger than that. Yeah, bigger than that. Not bad for a guy who was trained as a naval engineer architect and wound up selling greeting cards. I like that story, obviously. And John, again, I've watched a number of his videos and read as much as I could about him the time I had. Just a regular guy. Nice, sounds like a regular guy. And John and Wombi is too. They're both together. But I go in and I say, okay, what can I learn about this? And as you know, it's all part of the book I'm putting together. And I come up with this, what I call the lessons from Wombi Rose. Wombi Rose is a superstar today because he does the things that most people don't. And I've got 5 examples from the story I just told you. Okay. The first was the career decision. Wombi was trained as a naval architect and naval engineer. Most people would say, "Whoa, man, I can do this for my whole career. I'm trained on it. I'm good at it, and I'm paid very, very well, even though it's not my passion. It's a job, and I can do it. You know what? I'll find a hobby that'll satisfy my passion." Wombi says, "No, I don't think so." Wombi says, "I can't imagine doing this my whole career because it is not what I want to spend my whole life going doing." Wombi says, "I will constantly look for an opportunity to satisfy my passion," which he got from his father. "I want to be my own boss, and I want to make something special." 3 questions for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Are you passionate about what you're doing for a living? Only you know the answer to that. If you could make a good living doing what you are passionate about, let me repeat that. If you could make a good living doing what you are passionate about, would you? And the obvious question is, what are you passionate about? Example number 2. The opportunity decision. While in Vietnam, remember they were walking the streets and they saw that street vendor? Wombi discovered an exquisite, intricate, handmade pop-up 3D sculpture cards. Most people would say, "Wow, these cards are really nice," but they move on. Some people say, "Whoa, these cards are nice, but I'm entrepreneurial. I'm going to see if I can get the distribution rights to these cards, and I'm going to sell these cards as is the United States." Okay, that's an opportunity. Wombi Rose said, "No, I don't think so." He says, "Yeah, this is a unique business opportunity, but I'm going to sell my own creations, not theirs. I'm going to use their stuff that they do as the basis and create my own stuff and sell these in the United States." Why his own creations? Let me quote what Wombi said earlier. "You cannot build a brand based on other people's designs." 3 entrepreneurial questions. Are you looking for opportunities to start a business or grow a business or grow your business? Okay. Are you willing to create your own version of whatever you find? And are you looking outside your industry? We talked about that this morning. Okay. Example number 3, I call the industry decision. After returning to the United States, Wombi, doing his engineering analysis, considered the greeting card industry, even knowing it was dominated by 2 giants, Hallmark Cards and American Greetings. Most people would just say, whoa, there's no way I'm not going to go into the greeting card industry because of Hallmark and greeting cards. They own the industry. It's stupid. Why the hell would you? How many people have failed with a lot more money than I have? No way. Wombi says, you know what? I'm going to go into this industry because of Hallmark cards and greetings. He felt that they had already invested a lot of money in digitization, with e-cards and cards that play music and sounds. That was their investment. They were content with their status as leaders, and Wombi believed that he could shake up the greeting card industry. 3 questions for the entrepreneur. Are you not trying something or implementing something different in your business because of the competition? Is yours something different, really different, or is it just a little bit better? There's a big difference in that. And if there was a way to eliminate the competition, would you implement this something different? If yes, look at the next area. I call it a category decision. After Wombi identified the complaints customers had about greeting cards, he decided to create a new category that nobody was in the greeting cards that addressed these specific customer complaints. That's what Amber did with her Ritz-Carlton stuff, as a matter of fact, last week. Most people would say, whoa, after identifying these complaints, I'm still not going to go in. Why not? Because with all their resources, if these complaints were that important, Hallmark cards and American greetings would have already solved them. No way. That's just a death trap. Wombi says, well, I believe the greeting card industry had become old and stale. Because of that, the greeting card industry was starving for something new and exciting, because there's been nothing new and exciting since the e-cards. And the 3D sculptured cards that he was going to use to create his own were new and exciting. He created a new category that specifically solved customer complaints. 3 questions for entrepreneurs and small business owners. Are you concerned about entering an industry or market that is dominated by major companies? Okay. Does what you offer specifically solve complaints customers have about that industry? And can you create a new category that specifically solves these customer complaints? That's what Wombi did. And finally, the last area is what I call the springboard decision. Wombi decided that he would need a new partner to take Love Pop to the next level. Most people would be reluctant to give up equity, and thus, rather than bring out a new partner and give up a piece of my baby, they would try to take their company to the next level by working harder, even if it took longer to grow their company. Wombi says, you know what? I want to dominate and shake up this industry quickly before Hallmark cards and American greetings marshal their vast resources to take me down. Is it worth giving up some equity to springboard and dominate this new category as soon as possible? Oh, it is worth, that is. It is worth. 3 questions for the entrepreneur. Would you bring on a new partner to springboard your business? Would you bring on a new partner if they had the critical resources, key contacts, and much needed cash, which is what Kevin O'Leary had? Kevin O'Leary had he called the wedding platform. He had all these companies. He said, in people who were doing weddings, he said, if you create the 3D sculpture cards for wedding invitations, they'll pay anything to be so unique because their wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. The last question is, would you prefer 100% of a small number or a much greater than 10% of a number at least 10 times larger? That was Wombi's analysis. The one last thing I want to mention about Wombi Rose and well, really Wombi and John. And if you think about it, my wife likes cards. She doesn't like candy. She doesn't like flowers. She likes cards. So I spend time go to drugstores and buy cards. And I do pick out cards. And she's thrilled when she gets them, and it has a cute saying that I have my handwritten stuff on it. And she saves them. But a day after the anniversary or her birthday, they're thrown away. What Wombi and John found with their 3D sculpture cards, after the occasion, they're put on the mantle They're put on a counter, or they're put on a coffee table because they're just gorgeous. They're kept there forever. What about personalization? For $5, when you order your card online, because their cards are printed with no sayings at all. You will write whatever, no, to Peter, really enjoyed our meeting this morning, whatever it is, and they will handwrite that card and post it and mail it for you for just $5 added extra.
Wow.
Since I buy cards because my wife likes them, cards I'll spend anywhere from $3 to $5, $6, $7. These Love Pop cards cost $10 to $13. Not bad. It's well worth it for that wow factor. And that's my story about Wombi Rose.